Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hello, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the show. If you can hear the sound of my voice, you're watching Grandma Plays a Game. Oh, we're watching Grandma's Games Lab. Grandma Plays a Game on Monday through Friday. On Saturdays, we are not Grandma Plays a Game. Hello. Welcome in. Apparently, I'm not as prepared as I thought I was. Silly me. There we go. Okay, we are no longer starting soon. We are here, we are here, we are here. Where are we? We are on Games, Brains, and Roleplay. This is part 2 of a 3-part series. So, last episode on Games, Brains, and Roleplay, we talked about brains and the importance of roleplay to human existence, frankly, and how imagining ourselves outside of ourselves or as different characters or as different people is something that truly is baked into the human condition. I'm pretty sure it came with our brains because honestly, it is a thing that we do in our sleep. Stories will play out. We will relive moments or take on new adventures through dreaming. And it's kind of cool. It's a little scary. I can imagine if you're an early human, um, that maybe that was a part of some of the early storytelling that wasn't survival based, was just the fantastical stories that show up in brains as we dream and as our resting brains recover from all of the information of a day and help us to solve the things that continue to puzzle us. But what we're doing today is a lab dissection. Instead of going into the brain section, we're going into the actual lab and dissecting a specific game, and that game is Blood on the Clocktower. So let's head over here. Blood on the Clocktower is a social deduction game. What is a social deduction game? It is a game that does not come with pieces and boards that you move, you roll, you try to get to the end of a thing before anybody else gets to the end of the thing. This is more about playing a character. And in the last episode, we talked about different types of role play and how there are games out there like GURPS and D&D and other things, Fallout, where you can show up without any idea what your character is going to be. And your character can evolve as the game is played. You can name your character. You can give your character a physicality. You can give them skills and attributes and things like that. In a social deduction game, you are given a character. So when we look at a game like Blood on the Clocktower, we have 5 to 20 players. We have townsfolk and outsiders, minions and demons, a storyteller. The characters have abilities and different states, and there's a day-night cycle. So I want to show you what that looks like. And in order to do that, let me set the stage for you. By going here. We'll come back to the slideshow in a little bit. I ran across Blood on the Clocktower through No Rolls Barred on YouTube. I'll have a whole list of links that I will give you. There's a group of people playing an in-person game where they were seated around a table, and it looked a little bit like this right here would show you where people would be seated in an online representation of the game. And there was a storyteller who set the stage. Here, allow me to set the stage for you. Clouds roll in over Ravenswood Bluff, engulfing this sleepy town and its superstitious inhabitants in foreboding shadow. Freshly washed clothes dance eerily on lines strung between cottages. Chimneys cough plumes of smoke into the air. Exotic scents waft through the cracks in windows and under doors as hidden cauldrons lay bubbling. An unusually warm autumn breeze wraps around vine-covered walls and whispers ominously to those brave enough to walk the cobbled streets. Anxious mothers call their children home from play as thunder begins to clap on the horizon. If you listen more closely, however, noises stranger still can be heard echoing from the neighboring forest. Under the watchful eye of a looming monastery, silhouetted figures skip from doorway to doorway. Those who can read the signs know there is trouble brewing. And that is how the game opens. You have a group of people, they can be seated around a table, and let's take a look at Trouble Brewing. Trouble Brewing is one of the original scripts for Blood on the Clocktower. This is designed to be an in-person social deduction game similar to Werewolf and other social deduction games. Online, it can be very similar to Among Us without all the visual stuff. But what you have, that's the script. You can begin your table with that. And what you do, I should start with the basic rules explanation. Stephen Medway, designer of this game through the Pandemonium Institute, would say, begin with the rules explanation. So, in person, you can watch this played both ways online. YouTube has plenty of great channels. Let me bring up... This is the main channel for... Oh, I don't have chat up over here. Dang it, I've put my note card on the wrong... All right, I'll bring chat up. There we go. There's a link. That will have lots of far more advanced gameplay. This game has been around, I believe the Kickstarter was 2019, or it met goal and published 2019. So it's been around for a minute. The page that I am looking at right now comes from the Blood on the Clocktower wiki, which is right there. So those are some of the key links you'll want. The rules are important in this game because all you have is the characters and the human interaction. There's a storyteller, there are townsfolk, there are demons and minions. So, a long time ago in the sleepy town of Ravenswood Bluff, during a hellish thunderstorm on the stroke of midnight, you hear a scream. Rushing to the town square to investigate, you find your beloved storyteller, myself, has been murdered, impaled on the hour hand of the clock tower, blood dripping onto the cobblestones below. You assume that this is the work of a demon, and you are correct. A demon that kills by night and takes on human form by day. Is that easier to read now? Sorry, I'm trying to look at the preview. Oh, yeah, there we go. That's all right. You are about to receive either a red or blue token. So there, with the physical set that you can buy from the Pandemonium Institute, you will get disc tokens. They'll be either red or blue. If blue, you are good. If red, you are evil. It's just two teams. The aim of the game, if you are good, is to find and execute the demon. If the demon dies, good wins. The aim of the game, if you are evil, is to destroy the town. If just two players are left alive, evil wins. The game is split into two phases, a day phase and a night phase. During the day, you talk. You will each have a secret identity, a character on the list. Generally, the good players share whatever they know and attempt to find out who's who. Most good players will be telling the truth, but some have an incentive to lie. If you are evil, you should definitely be lying. It is best to pick a good character to pretend to be, spreading as much false information as possible. So what does that look like then when you're at the table? If you look at our representation here, this is not the official Blood on the Clocktower app. They do have an official app. Let me give you that link. The one I'm using is one that is very basic. It is not official. It's called Not Official App. Where's my chat? Here it is. Chat. There you go. The official app, if you have a free Patreon membership with Blood on the Clocktower, you can use the official app and join an active game as a player. And where have I put... Oh, I should be able to just click on this, right? Yes. And it looks like this. So these over here on the left are the links that you click to join a game. This will tell you the primary language the game is in, what script they're using. If you're a brand new player, you're going to want to look for something that says Trouble Brewing and Difficulty Beginner. They will tell you all the difficulties that you could be facing. Tell you who your storyteller is. You can look up storytellers, see how many games they've told, how many they've played, what edition they prefer. and get more detail that way. This will say they have 8 of 8 players and 1 spectator. But we're not going to be looking at that today because I do not have permission, because I don't have any money and I can't afford to join the Patreon to build scripts and things like that. I'm using the unofficial app right now, which it will get us through our basics for what I want to do today. Now, let me see how much of that is actually visible on the main screen right now. All right, so you can see that this says Trouble Brewing. We know which script we're using. This symbol right here is showing that there are 8. Is it not showing my mouse? Oh, there's my mouse. Okay. Oh, is it just so far behind? Really, Twitch? Okay. This shows that there are 8 total players. 8 of them are alive, and they're all online. 5 of them are going to be blue townsfolk. 1 of them will be an outsider. We can talk about that later. 1 is going to be a minion. A minion is there to help the demon, and 1 is going to be a demon. So you can see immediately that the balancing of this game, there are 6 people on the good team, 6 blue tokens, and 2 red tokens. So let's go back to the core elements of the game. We are having a terrible windstorm right now, and I'm afraid that that is going to end up affecting the stream. I can already see that you guys are well behind. Holy cow. Okay. Okay. Let's go back to our core elements of the game. What should you expect? You go, you know what? I want to get into Blood on the Clocktower. I kind of get this. You're sort of a medieval village and somebody's dead, and sort of like the demon and witch panic of the 17th century, as a beautiful result of the Malleus Maleficarum and Christian religions teaching everybody how to identify witches and execute them because reasons. We'll get into that next episode. Next episode, we will dive into the actual history that underpins this phenomenon. But, okay, you're going to sit around in a circle playing characters that are already laid out, that already have defined abilities. There's going to be a storyteller. The whole job of the storyteller is to make sure that people abide the rules and etiquette of the game. And there's a lot, but that's why there's a storyteller, so that you don't have to remember every single little thing there is. You can ask the storyteller anything you want, anytime. You can always talk to your storyteller. That's important. If you're new to a game like this, you want to be able to get whatever information you need. You're not just thrown into the pool and set to swim. So you're going to sit around in a circle. You're either going to get a red token or a blue token. That will say which team you're on. Red versus blue. How old is that? Red versus blue. Your character is going to have abilities, and then there are also states that will apply to them. But you don't need to worry about that till it comes up. What you need to know is that there is a day-night cycle. So during the day, townsfolk and minions and demons pretending to be townsfolk during the day will all share information, get into conversations, say what they know, try not to say too much, but try to figure out who's who in the town. And there is a script, and the script tells you all of the characters that are possible for this particular game that you are in. That can be different for every game you play. And I can show you how that works. And we go over here. So let's choose and assign some roles for the characters at the table. I'll be the storyteller for this game, and we will choose and assign some characters. These blue tokens are all of the characters who could possibly be good team in Trouble Brewing. All of these red tokens show who could be on the evil team. And over here on the left-hand side, there is a very particular balance. Stephen Medway, who designed this game, has said that it is a perfectly balanced game for 7 players. He's got it balanced just right for 7 players. You can sit at a table with 12, 14, 20, 5. It can change every time, and that's why there are outsiders. And then there are other characters. But again, you don't worry about any of that till it happens. Today, we're just going to look at what an 8-person script might look like. We're going to have the app shuffle up some characters. And we're going to pull that off and put that in. So what do I want to look at right now here? Why don't we just click everybody off, and I will do this manually. Who is the washerwoman? Well, the washerwoman, hang on, where's my reference? Oh, is it over here? Reference sheet. Here we go. Oh, you definitely won't be able to see this. There we go. The washerwoman starts knowing that 1 or 2 players is a particular townsfolk. Librarian starts knowing 1 or 2 players is a particular outsider. Everybody has a different role to do. You don't have to worry about anybody else's role but yours. Until you get there. As Stephen Medway said in an interview, he wanted this to be an easy game to get into and play, but he wanted it to be hard to master. And he's done a really good job of that. So let's go look at the grimoire, or at the script. This is the script. The grimoire is what you have at the table once all of the tokens are assigned. Well, what does it mean for each of these? They're just characters. They have different abilities. What kind of abilities do they have? Well, let's look here. Information. The abilities characters have, information is everything. Because this is a talking game, because this is social deduction, you want to gather as much information as you can, even if it's wrong, even if someone is lying. Every little nugget of information you find, you're going to put in your little pouch and share with other players so that you can try to start to puzzle out who's who. Well, they said they were this character, but are they this character? And watching a lot of the game is really going to help. But the types of information you have are characters who start knowing. They start the game, they know a thing. Most of the time, those characters never learn another thing. That's it. They get one piece of information, they get it right at the beginning of the game. They don't even have to ask the storyteller, they just start. Their character has data from the beginning. You have characters who are each night asterisk. Each night, except for the first. That's what that asterisk is always going to mean. Each night asterisk is no information on the first night. Each night characters get ongoing information, meaning that it's not just one time at the beginning of the game. They get information continuously. Then you have each day characters, because we have a night and day cycle. Different things happen during the night and during the day. You have once per game characters, meaning they have a specific ability that they only get to use once per game, but it's usually a pretty powerful ability. So, how does that relate to what we have here? Dominantly, the characters at the beginning of a script are start knowing, start knowing, start knowing, start knowing. Each night, asterisk. So we only have two characters right here who get each night. All four of these characters get one little bit of information at the beginning of the game, and they never get something from the storyteller again. All the information they get after that first night, they're going to get from everybody else who's playing. That's why the talking part becomes really, really important. We're going to knock out two of these characters here. And now we're going to look at some of these characters. It would probably be better to show these on the Trouble Brewing script. Okay, so if you're assigned a washerwoman, you would know that one of two players is a townsfolk. Townsfolk are your blue tokens. So that way you kind of get a sense of who's on your team. Otherwise, you're not going to know. You can't see anybody else's token at the table. Your librarian is going to start knowing one of two players is a particular outsider. Outsiders are on the good team, but they don't really get information and they don't really help. They just sort of help with the balance so that we don't end up with the good team having all the information to solve the game on the first day. Your investigator is going to know that one of two players is a minion. They're going to know who's on the other team. So washerwoman knows who's on your team, investigator knows who's on the other team. Your chef knows how many pairs of evil players, who's sitting by whom. I always think that's a curious thing. Why does the chef know that? You have an empath. An empath can tell their neighbors, whoever is sitting next to them, how many of my two alive neighbors are evil. What does that mean? If my neighbor dies, I still get the next person because they become my neighbor. So if the person to my left is executed or killed by the demon, then the next person along the circle. We can go through all of these, but I think it just becomes a real flood of information. That's just an idea of the type of information that the good team will have. You can have somebody who starts with a little nugget. You can have somebody who gets a nugget every night. You can have somebody who doesn't get a nugget on the first night, but can get nuggets of information every night after that. And then you have people who can, once per game, do something fun, like the Slayer. Once per game, during the day, publicly choose a player. And there's a script that goes with that. I claim Slayer and shoot, and then you name another player at the circle. If the player named by the Slayer is the demon dies. The game is over. Evil wins, or good team wins. Evil is defeated. Good team always wins if the demon dies. Unless. If you are the soldier, the demon can't kill you at night. The only people who can kill a soldier are the townsfolk. The townsfolk get an execution every day, trying to kill the demon. But the soldier cannot be killed at night. When we get to the other team, we could have on our minions a poisoner. That affects the information that the townsfolk get. The poisoner can choose another player, and a poisoned player may or may not get true information. They might get false information, and this is where the game becomes social deduction. This is a mystery night. This is a mystery weekend where everybody gathers together in a mansion. We have one not far from me. They do it in a whole town. The whole town participates in the mystery weekend, and different shopkeepers have different clues, and different people from the local theater will play characters and have interactions that other people can witness and get information. You might have a spy. The spy gets to see the grimoire. That's this. That's the grimoire. They might register as good, as a townsfolk, or an outsider, even if dead. So we have our townsfolk and outsiders who know who's on which team. The spy may or may not register correctly. The nice thing about Trouble Brewing is that you only have one type of demon. And that demon is the imp. Each night, asterisk. So the imp will not get a kill on night 1. The imp only gets a kill after night 1. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, however long the game goes, but it is really in the storyteller's hands to try to wrap up games at an hour to an hour and a half. 2 hours is a long game. Players who agree to join a game in the official Blood on the Clocktower app agree to join for 2 hours, but only 2 hours. So it's part of the storyteller's job to stay on top of timing for things, to give town limits on how long they're allowed to have conversations and how long nominations and executions and things like that can happen. And that's also important because the storyteller runs the night cycle. So we have days and nights, townsfolk and evil team pretending to be townsfolk all interact during the day, and then at night the information gatherers and other nighttime activity folks get to do their thing, but it is dominantly the evil team who holds sway over the night. And that's where the imp, each night they're going to choose a player. Player dies. If the imp feels like the townsfolk have figured out who they are, they might have to decide to kill themselves. instead of killing a townsfolk or an outsider or a minion. They can kill their own minions. It becomes part of the mystery strategy that part of the information that you get in this game is who has died. Dead players give you information. Now, if the imp says, "Oh man, they know who I am. I got to get out of this. I'm going to take myself out," then their minion becomes the new imp. And that's what a table can look like. Every game is going to start with the night phase. So let's look at the breakdown of play. When you sit down at a table, you're going to sit down and you're going to see this circle. Well, ish. If you're playing in person, you're going to be shown a token with your symbol and only your symbol on it. In fact, we should. All right. So, let's see. Can we? I don't think I'm allowed to just show a particular token. I am still learning how to use different aspects of this. Okay. This is our first night. We are on night 1. What the storyteller sees is who gets information. And over here on the left-hand side of the tokens, the storyteller can see who gets information on night 1. We have an investigator, a chef, and an empath. They're all going to get night 1 information. So you can see, if you're watching a game, if you're a spectator in a game, which I recommend doing, do a spectator from a storyteller perspective so that you can see everything going on. The breakdown of the gameplay mechanic is red team, evil team versus blue team, good team, find and execute the demon, or if you're the demon, hide. Fake your way into being perceived as a townsfolk so they don't kill you. Night 1 begins the game. After night 1 comes day 1. There is no night 0. Don't listen to them. Night 1 is followed by day 1. Night 1 begins the game. So as we can see in this one, the storyteller is going to go around to all of these folks who have indicators on the left-hand side of their tokens, and they will all get information. They will not be getting information again unless they are in each night. So you might see over on the empath's character, they have little numbers on either side of their token. That's to tell the storyteller that they continue to get information. So this is only first night. Storyteller will give information to the investigator, to the chef, to the empath. Will let the demon know who their minion is, and the minion know who their demon is. And in some games, that doesn't happen. And then off you go. You're off to the races. Day 1. Good morning, Ravenswood Bluff. You all wake from your humble cottages, head out for the morning to the well to get your water for the day, and as you gaze up at the Clocktower, you see the limp and lifeless body of me, your storyteller, with the telltale signs that I've been attacked by a horrible demon who roams this village. Find my killer and execute them. And now the townsfolk all start to talk to each other. Okay, hey, E, meet me in a private chat. Or if you're playing in a live game, they will usually have secluded areas that are reasonably soundproof for people to have. Sometimes you can have 4 people in a group all sharing information. But your biggest goal is to try to get as much information as you can. What did you learn? What did you learn? Who are you? And if you're on the good team, it's in your best interest to tell people, I'm a townsfolk. um, don't kill me, kind of a thing. Because at the end of day 1, the storyteller will announce that nominations are open. And if the town suspects that one of these people sitting around this circle is the demon, a townsperson can nominate that individual, and then a vote goes around the circle. And if more than half the players in the circle vote for that execution, then that character is executed and dies. But there are usually 3 calls for nominations. Everyone in the circle could be nominated, but once you have nominated someone for execution, you may not nominate again until the next day. You only get 1 chance. And if you are nominated and the town votes for you to be on the block, then you stay on the block. And maybe someone gets more votes than you, which means the town really wants that person to die. There is also an option for the votes to get tied. In the event of a tie, the person who's on the block comes back down and is not replaced. In the event of a tie, both the person being voted on and the person on the block are safe from execution that day. Cannot be renominated. If you get to the end of the day and let's say that character C has been voted for and they are now going to die. Let's see, is that how that looks? Yeah, it looks like that. Their character gets a shroud put on them, and these all come, these tokens and all of there's beautiful boxes that come in the real set. That's what that is. That's their ghost vote. Then that character dies. And then you go to the night phase. During the night, your Scarlet Woman gets to go. Your demon gets to go. Your demon chooses someone to die. The demon says, oh, I think the Slayer is too powerful a character, so the demon kills the Slayer. Now the empath gets to go. Well, they get to learn how many of their alive neighbors are evil. Not alive, not alive. Neighbor, neighbor. 2 of your alive neighbors are evil. Now the empath knows who the red team is. The Undertaker gets information. This player was executed today. So now the Undertaker gets to learn that the player who was executed was, in fact, the chef. And then when we get to the next day, because that's everybody who goes at night, there's your night phase done. We come up to the next day. The storyteller will announce that B, whoever that is, Bob, has died in the night. And now town gets another amount of time. What I've seen in most games is they usually go from like 6 minutes to 4 minutes to 3 minutes, something like that, and just knock there's 6-4-2, knock everything down by 2 minutes as the days go on. Again, you don't want this dragging out. You don't want a 2 or 3 hour game. This is meant to happen pretty rapidly so that there's not hours and hours of investment that would cause people to get really, and people get butthurt enough when they lose in this game. You don't want that to happen. So that's what happens. That is the entirety of the gameplay loop. Every day, town gets to do an execution. Every night, the demon gets to kill somebody. If the good team manages to execute the demon in the day cycle, yay! The game is over and the good team has won. If the demon manages to sneak around and kill all the townsfolk so that there's only 2 players left at the end of the game, then yay! Evil team has won. So we already kind of went over this with the kind of information. So if you were to get into a game, I kind of really need to fix that. These should be in the opposite order. You just need to know what your character does. I've seen games that have lasted 20 minutes. I've seen games that have lasted 5 minutes. You do not need to stress out about trying to know what everybody else does. And you can always go to your storyteller. Your storyteller is an experienced player, a veteran of the game. There is a curation system in the Blood on the Clocktower community of really watching storyteller behavior and flagging people immediately if they begin to have inappropriate storyteller behavior, meaning the storyteller is there to balance. They do not have a preferred team, keeping in mind that the good team always starts with more players. So the storyteller's job is to kind of keep the evil team from being completely sussed out in the first 2 days. And part of that is all about misinformation. So if information is everything, misinformation is everything else. How does misinformation work in this game? Is this just everybody lies to everybody? Sometimes it is. I recommend watching a lot. But Jams will tell you, Ben Burns will tell you, a lot of the people who have years, 6-7 years of playing this game in tests and beta and new characters and checking balance on scripts will tell you, go play. I can't tell you that right now because I'm a chicken and I'm scared because I don't know how to work some of the apps and things like that. And I'm a hermit and I'm terrified of people I don't know. So I've been trying to get a game together with the folks in my Discord. So whether your token is red or blue is what determines your team. That's the only thing that determines your team, because alignment can be changed. You'll know it when it happens. You'll be told. The storyteller will tell you. Now, if you're confused about it and you say, okay, I got an empath 1, you can say to your storyteller, what does this information mean? Like, how would this be used? Ask your storyteller whatever you want. Now, on the script that we were looking at, we didn't have drunkenness and we didn't have poisoning. Those are two things that can affect the information players get. So let's actually look at what that means. Okay. In the game Blood on the Clocktower, players can be lots of things, this character or that one, drunk or sober, alive or dead, healthy or poisoned. These are called states. Basically, they're permanent elements of a player that are independent from each other. So we're not talking about people changing characters or anything like that. There are elements of the game. In a Trouble Brewing beginner difficulty game, the worst thing that can happen is you can have a character who is a drunk, or you can have a poisoner in the game who poisons people. But I don't think any of the characters in the base game of Trouble Brewing cause drunkenness or poison, except for those two. So, characters in any game could be alive or dead. Execution doesn't mean death. Some players are immune to being executed. The town, if they think, oh gosh, we killed the chef last night, what are we going to do? I can't really tell who's evil. Well, they can execute the chef again. You can dig up a corpse and execute it again. You just have, in some games, you have to make an execution every day or the evil team wins. A dead player cannot die again. So if the demon attacks a dead player, they do not die again. And the group doesn't get any information from the storyteller the next day. Again, the storyteller is managing that flow of information. So you have alive or dead, good or evil. We don't have anything that will change. What we want to really look at is just the drunkenness and the poisoning, because that can happen in Trouble Brewing. At any given time, a player is either sober or drunk, either poisoned or healthy. Being drunk and poisoned are effectively, from the storyteller's perspective, from the information being given, the same thing. Alive and dead players can both be drunk or poisoned. A drunk or poisoned player has no ability. A drunk slayer cannot slay anybody. A poisoned demon cannot kill anybody. A drunk virgin cannot cause an execution with their ability. So your ability, your character ability, the one that comes with your token, cannot work. It does not function. 404, ability not found. you can get your ability back. Some of these conditions only last for a day. But if you're a once per game ability, as it says here, if you used your once per game ability while you were drunk or poisoned, you don't get the ability back. So if you're the Slayer and you claim Slayer and shoot the person you think is the demon, and it was the demon, but you were drunk, you don't get the kill and you don't get to try again. The storyteller will not tell you that you are drunk or poisoned. They will give you information the same way they give you information every day-night cycle. And it's up to you in the way that you talk to the other folks around the circle, whether you figure that out or not. And a lot of times people just don't. Now, if you think you're getting information like that, as it says, this is storyteller advice. Sometimes you may want to hint to them that they are drunk or poisoned. So if a brand new player gets information and they go, wait a minute, that doesn't make any sense. A storyteller could say, well, if you look at this script, there is always the possibility of drunkenness or poisoning. The storyteller can give false information. A drunk or poisoned player does not have an ability, but they think they do. The Slayer thinks they shot the demon. And when you say Bob claimed empath or Bob claimed Slayer and shot Fred and nothing happens, the game continues. Fred could have been the demon. Bob thinks it didn't happen, that Fred's still alive, because Fred wasn't the demon. So now we have layers of misinformation. A poisoned Undertaker gets shown the character token of the player who died by execution today, but you can show the wrong token as the storyteller. So we know in our game that the chef was executed by the town, so the Undertaker would get that information. But if the Undertaker has been drunk or poisoned, not that any of the characters on this script could do that, then the storyteller might show them washerwoman. It doesn't have to be a token that's on the grimoire. The storyteller can show any misinformation they want. And if this Undertaker says, wait a minute, I talked to everybody today, they go back out the next day, does anybody hear the washerwoman? I was shown washerwoman. And nobody claims that they are the washerwoman? Then the Undertaker might have a really good reason to suspect that they were drunk or poisoned that day. You're not required to give incorrect info. As a storyteller, just because someone is drunk or poisoned does not obligate the storyteller to give incorrect information. It's more fun if you do, because misinformation is a big part of the game. But sometimes, depending on the balance of the game, you might need to have a character who doesn't know if they're drunk or not. And giving out correct information after giving out incorrect information to the same person might really cause them to question what's going on, which is what you want. You want people questioning and looking to one another for answers. You want that interaction between your players. Drunkenness and poisoning do not cancel out. Don't even think about it. A poisoned drunk does not become sober. A drunk who gets poisoned does not become less drunk. Abilities that are used on a drunk or poisoned player do work normally. Let's go back to our Slayer. Our Slayer, Bob, claims Slayer and shoots Fred. Fred is drunk. Right? Or poisoned. We have a poisoned demon. That demon will be shot and die. Drunkenness and poisoning work on the player, not the character. They work on the player to whom they are applied. So in a script where a player changes character, the player remains drunk. Drunkenness does not follow the character to the next player. That's important to know. So we're looking at a whole lot of different abilities on here that are just going to get confusing and overloading. And I'm really hoping to try to get the basics of the game out in front of you. This is also important for storytellers. You must always give correct information about the rules, even to a drunk or poisoned player. So if a player has been poisoned and they're trying to figure out if their information is correct, and they ask you about a mechanic in a game, or if they ask the storyteller about a mechanic in the game, it is important for the storyteller to give that player correct information about how the game works. So let us say as we go along our second day, on day 1, the chef was killed. On night 2, the Slayer was killed by the imp. The chef was executed by town. The Slayer was killed by the imp. So let's simulate what happens on day 2. Let's say town decides to execute the Scarlet Woman. Now the imp is left alone. We get to night 2. The imp gets to go and says this Undertaker over here has become too powerful. Well, the Undertaker would have found out that the Scarlet Woman was the Scarlet Woman, but now they can't because they're dead. That's night 3. So day 2, Scarlet Woman was executed by town. Night 3, the Undertaker is killed by the imp. Day 3 begins. Town goes around. The empath says, well, I had an empath 2. Now I only have an empath 1. So you killed... It had to have been a minion. It can't have been a demon. Because the game is continuing. If we'd killed the demon, the game would have ended. So everybody votes and they execute the imp. Now the demon is dead and the game is over. And the good team has won. But maybe they don't. Maybe they accidentally... Oh, actually, no, the empath would get an empath too. Because one of the abilities of the recluse is they might register as evil. So town accidentally kills the recluse, thinking that they're the demon. Now the only characters who are left alive are the empath, the investigator, and the imp. It's night 4. The imp executes or kills the empath in the night. We get to the final day 4, and there's only 2 players left alive, and that's a win for the evil team. Those are your win conditions, right? Good team can only win if they kill the demon, or if they have a character who has an ability that interferes or creates a win state, otherwise like the mayor. And the evil team can win if they get the game all the way down to the final two players. And that's an automatic win because the demon would kill the remaining good player. And that's the win. So, when we look at how misinformation applies throughout the game, you have your drunkenness, you have your poisoning. There's also characters who can be mad or make other characters mad. Madness needs to be read not as angriness, but as a religious fervor. Madness in the medieval sense of madness. Oh, Freddy is mad. He thinks he's a raccoon and nobody can convince him out of it, and he's going through everybody's garbage and madness. Okay, so not, I'm angry about this. You're not angry about it. You have gone mad. You have lost your mind, and you honestly believe that you are something you are not. And part of the conditions of madness insist that you must present yourself as mad, crazy, trying to convince everyone you're a raccoon. And if you don't try hard enough, the storyteller can simply execute you. And that counts as the town's execution in the day cycle. So that just ends the day. If a player breaks madness, the storyteller can execute them and end the day. Again, the storyteller is not obligated. This is not a game about, oh, but I rolled a nat 20, but a nat 20 only counts on attack rolls. It doesn't count on ability checks. Anyway, this is not a game that is more about the rules than anything. The storyteller is the arbiter of the rules. And rule number 1 is everybody has fun, including the storyteller. Everybody is here to have fun. We're here to lie to each other, sometimes tell the truth, try to figure out who the killer is, and have a good time. And that's why a lot of the groups who get together and play 3 or 4 games in a row. And using the same characters, because what you can do is you can do what they say is a re-rack. So we get to the end of this game here. Well, assign 8 characters randomly. Remove all the death tokens or the death shrouds from people. And here's the exact same script with the exact same characters, and they're all just redistributed. Right? And that's what makes it really fun. Is the idea is that on night 1, you have a couple people who are going to get information. On day 1, Slayer says, you know what? I always shoot the person sitting at 12 o'clock on the first day, although the Slayer should wait and try to get more information. But suppose they decide to just, I claim Slayer and shoot player H. Player H dies, and the game is over. The good team has won. That's it. And that's what keeps the game fun, is you get to learn why Trouble Brewing is so fun. The characters have fairly simple abilities. Once you know what your ability does, then you start working with other people who have information to match up what their information says about what's going on. And, oh, that was the last slide. Okay, cool, cool. Uh, and put the clues together. There are some scripts that come together in this game that involve everybody lying to everybody the entire game. There are other scripts where nobody knows what their character is, where all they see is this. They don't even know what their own character is. And a game like that is run with the storyteller waking people up in the night, giving them information or asking them questions in case they want to get information. You have a once per game ability. Would you like to use your ability today? They don't know what their ability is. This is a game about kind of, pin the tail on the donkey in so many ways. It's as much, a murder mystery as it is a being blindfolded pin the tail on the donkey game. And that's what makes it incredible. So in the links above, you'll see the playlist link on YouTube. That will take you here, where the incredible Holly Musgrave will talk to you about how to play Blood on the Clocktower. You can go to the wiki and just read. This is for people like me who used to enjoy sitting down with thesauruses and encyclopedias and things like that. This is really fun to just sort of look at all the different townsfolk. There are 108 townsfolk as of last count. You can look at specific editions. And the interface here is really lovely. Things have hover text. You can go to characters and get hover text, or you can click on the character. You get information, a summary, how to run it, examples, tips and tricks, and now how to bluff and pretend that you're not the investigator. This is all right here for you. And you are absolutely allowed and encouraged to have the wiki open. This is an open book test. It's not a test at all. It's a fun game. But you are definitely encouraged as a player to have the wiki open and to look at the best practices for playing your character. Plus the fact that for the majority of the games, you will be allowed to see the script. And that is like this. You're allowed to pull up the reference sheet connected to the script for the game you're playing. And here you can see every character that could possibly be assigned in this script. So somebody can say, oh, well, I claim juggler and I'm going to juggle. And you go, wait a minute. There's no juggler on this script. You can't be the juggler. The juggler is on a totally different script. Anyway, that's my new addiction. I absolutely cannot watch enough content from Blood on the Clocktower. If you look at their YouTube, you can see they have how many? 380 videos. From the past, 5 years? And this is just the stuff that's online and recorded. You can watch them on Twitch TV. There are cons all over the place. There's a subreddit. There's a Discord. There's all kinds of information out there. And Stephen Medway, who created this game, did so because he loves playing games. And he noticed that in many of the games he was playing, there were things that were missing. There were things from Werewolf where dead players no longer had any agency and you could see people checking out. The things that I've read from Steven and the interviews that I've seen with Steven constantly reinforce that he wants people to interact and have fun and to stay engaged. So that's another reason why the gameplay loop is designed to be, hour to an hour and a half, as long as you would sit down and, kind of enjoy a meal with people. Just sit down, we'll have lunch, and we'll head on back to whatever we were doing, so that it doesn't have to be a huge investment. And keeping that investment kind of tightened up also really helps a lot with how people feel when they win or lose. This is a game that is supposed to just give people a chance to have fun together and to interact, to lie without getting in trouble for it. Um, which I think is fascinating from a psychological standpoint, because we get told so much in our lives, you're not supposed to lie, you're not supposed to lie, you're not supposed to lie. And this is a game that's not like any other. So when you play a murder mystery weekend, you really only have one person who's lying and trying to hide, and that's the killer. In other kinds of games, it's just nothing provides this dynamic where a lot of the townsfolk have reasons to not be honest about what they can do, because if the demon finds out who they are, they're definitely getting killed. They'll be gone before they can even get information. So if you're one of those characters who is in each night and you're getting information constantly, then it's very likely that the demon's going to try to get rid of you, because the more information you get, the more pieces of the puzzle get filled in. So I invite you to check out this game as a social deduction exercise, and hopefully I haven't made it more confusing by trying to make it less confusing. But I wanted to have a moment to demonstrate the basics of this game, which are get in, know your character, talk to people, try to figure out who's who to the best of your ability, but have fun. Have fun. And all that said, I'm going to say thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, wherever you are in the world. And on the next episode of Grandma's Games Lab, we will be talking about the period of history on which this whole concept is based, of witch hunts and demon hunts, and how for a century and a half or more, people across the world were convinced of things that were not real and actually killed their neighbors. So, thank you for joining me, and I hope you Join us on the next episode of Grandma's Games Lab. Have a great day, everybody.